Part 1. The Awakening. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, where the dense foliage blocked out the sun and the air was thick with humidity, a legend lay dormant. Deep within the labyrinth of trees and vines, there was a cave known only to a few indigenous tribes. The elders spoke of a guardian, a creature of immense power and mystery, slumbering for centuries beneath the forest floor. This was the legend of the Venum, a serpent said to be intertwined with the very essence of nature itself. Dr. Elena Ramirez, a dedicated herpetologist with a passion for discovering the world's most elusive reptiles, had heard the tales of the Venum during her many expeditions. Though fascinated by the stories, she had always considered them mere folklore. That changed when she received a peculiar artifact from a fellow researcher, a fragment of a serpent's scale, larger than any she had ever seen, covered in intricate, ancient symbols. The scale sparked a curiosity in Elena that she couldn't ignore. She decided to assemble a team for an expedition into the depths of the Amazon to uncover the truth behind the legend. Her team consisted of Marcus, a seasoned tracker with an unparalleled knowledge of the jungle, Dr. Jonas Patel, a biologist whose eccentricity was matched only by his brilliance, and Anna, a local guide whose expertise in the region was invaluable. The journey into the rainforest was arduous and fraught with danger. The dense vegetation made progress slow, and the constant threat of venomous creatures kept the team on edge. Yet, as they pressed on, guided by Elena's unyielding determination, a strange feeling began to grow among them. It was as if the forest itself was leading them, drawing them closer to a hidden secret. One evening, after days of trekking through the oppressive heat and humidity, they stumbled upon a hidden cave entrance, almost entirely concealed by thick vines and moss. As they cleared the entrance and stepped inside, they were greeted by an awe-inspiring sight. The cave walls were covered in carvings depicting a colossal serpent entwined with symbols of the natural elements, lightning, water, fire, and earth. At the center of the cave lay a massive stone altar, upon which rested an enormous serpent's skin, shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence. The air around the altar crackled with a strange energy, sending chills down Elena's spine. She knew without a doubt that they had found the resting place of the Venum. In her excitement to document the find, Elena accidentally disturbed the arrangement of stones on the altar. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light filled the cave, and a deep, rumbling hiss echoed through the chamber. The ground shook violently, and the team scrambled to escape as the cave began to collapse around them. As they emerged into the moonlit jungle, their eyes widened in disbelief. Before them stood the Venum, a serpent of unimaginable size, its scales glowing with a brilliant, metallic sheen. The creature's eyes burned with an ancient intelligence, and its presence exuded a raw, primal power. The Venum had awakened. The massive serpent moved with a grace that defied its size, its body coiling and uncoiling with a fluidity that mesmerized the team. The jungle seemed to respond to its presence, the foliage rustling as if acknowledging the return of an old friend. The air buzzed with a strange energy, and the scent of exotic flowers filled their nostrils. Elena and her team watched in awe as the Venum began to move through the forest. It was clear that the creature was not merely an ancient relic but a living embodiment of the natural world. The team followed at a respectful distance, careful not to disturb the majestic serpent. As they tracked the Venum, they observed an extraordinary phenomenon. The areas of the forest touched by the serpent seemed to come alive with renewed vigor. Plants that had appeared withered and dying burst into bloom, and the forest teemed with life. It was as if the Venum was a conduit for the very life force of the jungle. Elena's mind raced with the implications of their discovery. The Venum was not just a creature of legend, it was a guardian of the rainforest, a being that maintained the balance of nature. She realized that their mission had shifted from mere discovery to protection. They had to ensure that the Venum remained safe from the encroaching threats of the modern world. However, they were not the only ones aware of the Venum's awakening. Unbeknownst to Elena and her team, word of their discovery had spread, attracting the attention of those who sought to exploit the creature's power for their own gain. Poachers and mercenaries, driven by greed and ambition, were already on their trail. One night, as the team made camp by a tranquil river, they were ambushed. A group of heavily armed men, led by a ruthless mercenary named Carlos Mendoza, descended upon them with brutal efficiency. Elena, Marcus, Jonas, and Anna were captured, bound, and forced to watch as Mendoza and his men laid their plans to capture the Venum. Mendoza, a man with a reputation for ruthlessness, was determined to capture the serpent and sell its power to the highest bidder. He underestimated the ancient creature he sought to control. As dawn broke, his men moved out, following the trail left by the Venom. The jungle grew eerily quiet as the hunters closed in on their prey. The Venom, sensing the intrusion, coiled itself defensively, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence. Mendoza ordered his men to fire, and a barrage of tranquilizer darts flew through the air. For a moment, it seemed as if the great serpent might fall. But the Venom, fueled by the elemental forces of nature, was far from defeated. With a roar that shook the very ground, it unleashed its power. Lightning crackled around its body, and the earth itself seemed to rise in its defense. The hunters were thrown into disarray, their advanced technology useless against such raw, primal fury. Bound and helpless, Elena and her team could only watch in awe as the Venom defended itself. The serpent's wrath was swift and merciless, and in moments, the jungle was silent once more. The poachers were gone, scattered or destroyed by the very force they sought to conquer. Freed from their captors, Elena and her team knew they had a new mission. The Venom was not just a relic of the past, it was a vital part of the Earth's future. They vowed to protect it, to ensure that its power would remain a force of balance in a world that desperately needed it. The legend of the Venom was no longer a myth. It was a living, breathing reality, and its awakening marked the beginning of a new chapter in the struggle to protect the natural world. Elena, her heart filled with determination, knew that their journey was just beginning. Part 2: The Emergence. The dawn of a new day brought a profound realization to Dr. Elena Ramirez and her team. The Venom, once a myth, had awakened and revealed itself as a guardian of the rainforest. They were now its protectors, bound by a sense of duty and reverence for the ancient serpent. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, not just from the jungle itself, but from those who sought to exploit the creature's power. The team resumed their trek through the dense rainforest, trailing the Venom at a respectful distance. The serpent moved with a purpose, its massive body gliding silently through the underbrush. As it traveled, the forest around it seemed to flourish. Trees grew taller, flowers more vibrant, and the air filled with the sounds of wildlife. It was as if the Venom's presence rejuvenated the very heart of the jungle. Elena, Marcus, Jonas, and Anna documented everything meticulously. They noted the changes in the environment, the behaviors of animals, and the path the Venom took. Each observation deepened their understanding of the creature and its connection to nature. But the serene beauty of their journey was soon overshadowed by a new threat. The news of the Venom's awakening had spread beyond the forest, reaching corporate interests and government agencies eager to harness its power. Among them was Richard Kane, the ambitious CEO of EcoDyn, a multinational corporation with a reputation for exploiting natural resources. Kane envisioned the Venom as the key to revolutionary advancements in energy and biotechnology. His motivations were purely selfish, driven by profit and the promise of power. EcoDyn dispatched a highly trained team into the Amazon, equipped with advanced technology and led by the formidable Colonel Victor Graves. Elena and her team first became aware of EcoDyn's presence through subtle signs: the distant hum of drones, the occasional flicker of artificial light through the trees, and the unmistakable sound of helicopters hovering above the canopy. Marcus, with his keen instincts, quickly realized they were being followed. One evening, as they set up camp by a serene waterfall, the team held a council. They discussed their options and the best course of action to protect the Venom. Anna, with her intimate knowledge of the forest, suggested leading EcoDyn's forces into the most treacherous parts of the jungle, using the terrain to their advantage. "We know this land better than they do," Anna said, her voice resolute. "We can use the jungle to confuse and disorient them." Elena nodded, her mind racing with strategies. "We need to keep them away from the Venom at all costs. If they capture it, the consequences could be catastrophic." As night fell, the team moved swiftly and silently through the forest, setting traps and creating false trails. The Venom, sensing their intent, seemed to cooperate, leading them through the densest parts of the jungle where EcoDyn's advanced technology would struggle to follow. The following days were a test of endurance and ingenuity. Elena and her team guided the Venom through narrow ravines, cross turbulent rivers, and into areas teeming with wildlife. Each step was a calculated move to stay one step ahead of their pursuers. Despite their efforts, EcoDYN's forces were relentless. Colonel Graves, a seasoned tactician, used every resource at his disposal to track the serpent. His drones scoured the forest from above, and his men advanced with precision, cutting through the underbrush with ruthless efficiency. The tension reached its peak in a remote part of the jungle, where the trees grew so thick that sunlight barely touched the ground. Elena and her team knew they were running out of options. They needed to confront their pursuers head-on to protect the Venom. One evening, as the team rested by a hidden lagoon, Elena made a decision. "We can't keep running forever. We need to make a stand. If we can create a diversion, we might be able to lead them away from the Venom long enough for it to find a safer place." Jonas, ever the scientist, added, "If we can disrupt their communications, we might be able to disorient them further. The jungle can be our greatest ally." The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. Under the cover of darkness, they set out to sabotage EcoDYN's operations. Marcus used his tracking skills to locate the enemy's encampments, while Anna led them through the forest's hidden paths. Their efforts culminated in a daring raid on EcoDYN's main base of operations. Using their knowledge of the terrain, they disabled the drones and jammed the communications. The chaos that ensued bought them precious time. Colonel Graves, however, was not so easily deterred. He regrouped his forces and launched a relentless pursuit. The jungle erupted in a cacophony of noise and movement as EcoDYN's men clashed with the forest's natural defenses. In the midst of the chaos, Elena and her team found themselves in a final standoff. Surrounded by towering trees and the sounds of the jungle, they prepared to defend the Venom with their lives. The serpent, sensing their resolve, coiled protectively, its scales shimmering with a fierce, elemental glow. As EcoDYN's forces closed in, the Venom unleashed its full power. Lightning crackled from its body, igniting the underbrush and creating barriers of fire. The ground trembled, and the air hummed with energy. The jungle itself seemed to rise in defense of its guardian. Colonel Graves, faced with the raw, untamed power of the Venom, realized too late the futility of his mission. His men, overwhelmed by the primal forces at play, retreated in disarray. Graves, driven by a desperate determination, pressed on alone, only to be met with the full fury of the ancient serpent. The confrontation ended as swiftly as it had begun. The jungle fell silent, the fires extinguished, and the air cleared. EcoDYN's forces were gone, scattered or destroyed by the very power they sought to control. Elena and her team, exhausted but triumphant, stood in awe of the Venom. They knew that their journey was far from over, but for now, they had succeeded in their mission. The Venom, a guardian of the natural world, was safe once more. As the sun rose over the rejuvenated forest, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had witnessed the emergence of a legend, and their lives were forever changed. The Venom had awakened, and its guardians were ready to protect it, no matter the cost. Part 3: The Convergence. The dense canopy of the Amazon shrouded Elena and her team as they moved through the jungle, the ground beneath their feet a tapestry of roots and foliage. The battle against EcoDYN had left them weary, but the Venom's power had invigorated the forest, and their spirits remained high. Each step felt like a victory, reminder of their purpose. But they knew that the forces arrayed against them were formidable and that the struggle to protect the Venom was far from over. EcoDYN's retreat was only temporary. Richard Kane, enraged by his initial defeat, was more determined than ever to capture the Venom. His corporation's resources were vast, and he quickly assembled a new team, one even more ruthless and technologically advanced than before. Leading this team was Colonel Victor Graves, a seasoned soldier with a reputation for completing his missions at any cost. He would not be deterred by the primal forces of the jungle. Meanwhile, Elena and her team had found a temporary sanctuary deep within the forest. The Venom, sensing their need for safety, had guided them to a secluded valley, surrounded by towering cliffs and dense vegetation. Here, the serpent rested, its massive coils gleaming in the dappled sunlight that filtered through the canopy. Elena used this time to study the Venom more closely. She discovered that the serpent's scales contained a unique biological compound that seemed to react to environmental stimuli, essentially making the Venum a living conduit of elemental energy. This explained the serpent's ability to manipulate natural forces and rejuvenate the forest. Marcus and Anna worked tirelessly to fortify their position, setting up traps and using the terrain to their advantage. Jonas, ever the scientist, continued to document their findings, his initial skepticism giving way to a profound respect for the creature they had sworn to protect. But their peace was short-lived. One morning, as the team gathered around a makeshift table to discuss their next steps, they heard the distant hum of engines. Drones, far more advanced than those previously used by EcoDYN, were closing in on their location. The team sprang into action, knowing they had little time before Graves and his men arrived. Elena looked at her team, determination etched on her face. "We need to move the Venum. They've found us again, and this time, they are prepared. We have to stay ahead of them." With the Venum leading the way, they began a grueling journey deeper into the uncharted parts of the rainforest. The serpent moved with an uncanny awareness, guiding them through hidden paths and natural defenses that only it seemed to know. But Graves and his team were relentless, using their technology to track the Venum's movements. As they pressed on, the jungle itself became a battleground. Graves' team deployed advanced weaponry and tactics, cutting through the dense foliage and overcoming the natural obstacles. Despite the Venum's efforts to shield them, the mercenaries drew closer with each passing hour. The inevitable confrontation came at the edge of a vast, ancient clearing, dominated by a colossal tree that seemed to touch the sky. The Venum coiled protectively around the tree's base, its scales shimmering with a warning glow. Elena and her team took their positions, ready to defend the serpent with their lives. Graves and his men emerged from the jungle, their weapons trained on the Venum. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the distant calls of jungle birds and the hum of insects. Graves stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the serpent. "Dr. Ramirez," he called out, his voice amplified by a portable loudspeaker. "We know you're there. Surrender the creature, and no harm will come to you or your team." Elena stepped into the open, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken. "You don't understand what you're dealing with, Colonel. The Venum is not just an animal, it's a guardian. It must be protected." Graves smirked, his eyes cold and calculating. "We have our orders, Doctor. Stand aside, or we will use force." As if sensing the threat, the Venum uncoiled and raised its head, lightning crackling along its scales. The ground beneath them trembled, and a low rumble echoed through the clearing. The serpent's eyes glowed with a fierce intelligence, a silent warning to the intruders. Graves gave the order to fire, and a volley of tranquilizer darts and energy nets flew through the air. But the Venum reacted with lightning speed, unleashing a surge of elemental power. Lightning arced from its body, striking the nets and darts, disintegrating them in mid-air. The ground split open, creating fissures that swallowed Graves' men. In the chaos, Elena and her team fought valiantly. Marcus used his knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the mercenaries, setting traps that ensnared their pursuers. Anna, with her deep connection to the jungle, called upon the local wildlife to aid in their defense. Jonas, armed with nothing but his wits, managed to disable several drones, further leveling the playing field. Despite their efforts, Graves pressed on, driven by a fanatical determination. He managed to get within striking distance of the Venum, a high-tech spear in hand. But as he lunged forward, Elena threw herself in his path, knocking the spear aside. "Stop," she cried. "You're endangering us all. The Venum is our ally, not our enemy." Graves hesitated, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. But his hesitation was brief. He raised his weapon again, only to be met by a surge of energy from the Venum. The ground erupted in a blinding flash of light, and when the dust settled, Graves lay unconscious, his weapon shattered. The remaining mercenaries, seeing their leader defeated and the sheer power of the Venum, began to retreat. Elena and her team, bruised and exhausted, gathered around the great serpent. The Venum, sensing the immediate danger had passed, lowered its head, its eyes softening with what Elena could only interpret as gratitude. In the aftermath, the team realized the true extent of their bond with the Venum. They were not just its protectors, they were its chosen allies, united in a common cause. The convergence of human and serpent had forged a new path, one that required vigilance, courage, and unwavering resolve. Elena looked at her team, her heart swelling with pride and determination. We've faced the worst they could throw at us, and we've prevailed. But this is only the beginning. The Venom needs us, and we need it. Together, we can protect this forest and ensure its legacy endures. As the sun set over the ancient tree, casting long shadows across the clearing, Elena knew that their journey was far from over. The Venom's emergence had marked a new chapter in the battle for the Amazon, and they would be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. United by their shared purpose, they would stand as guardians of the natural world, protecting the Venom and the rainforest from those who would seek to exploit them. The convergence of past and present, myth and reality, had forged an unbreakable bond. And as long as the Venom roamed the jungle, there would always be hope for the future. Part 4: The Guardians. The battle against Colonel Graves and his mercenaries had left Elena and her team bruised but resolute. The convergence of their destinies with the Venom had marked the beginning of a new chapter, and they were now the guardians of an ancient force of nature. The Amazon rainforest, with all its mysteries and dangers, had become their sanctuary and their battlefield. In the days following their victory, the team set to work solidifying their defenses and preparing for the inevitable return of their enemies. They knew Ecodyn and other powerful entities would not give up so easily. The Venom's power was too great a temptation for those driven by greed and ambition. Elena, Marcus, Jonas, and Anna found an ally in an unexpected place. Indigenous tribes of the Amazon, who had long known of the Venom and its significance, came forward to offer their support. These tribes, with their deep knowledge of the jungle and its secrets, became invaluable partners in the struggle to protect the serpent. Chief Tupac, a respected leader among the tribes, met with Elena and her team in a sacred grove. His eyes were wise and piercing, filled with a lifetime of knowledge passed down through generations. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the Venom's trust," Tupac said, his voice resonating with authority. "We will stand with you. Together, we will protect our guardian." With the tribe's help, the team fortified their sanctuary. They created a network of hidden paths, lookout points, and traps designed to deter any intruders. The Venom, ever vigilant, continued to patrol the jungle, its presence a constant reminder of the natural world's power and resilience. Elena and her team also focused on understanding the Venom's abilities. Jonas conducted experiments to analyze the serpent's scales, discovering their potential to harness and amplify natural energy. These scales, when properly utilized, could revolutionize sustainable energy and environmental protection. Yet, Elena was adamant that such knowledge must be used responsibly, always keeping the Venom's well-being as the highest priority. One evening, as the team gathered around a fire, they reflected on their journey and the challenges that lay ahead. The flickering flames cast shadows on their faces, but their expressions were resolute. "We've come so far," Marcus said, his voice steady. "But we need to be ready for anything. Cain won't stop, and others will come. We have to be stronger than ever." Anna nodded, her eyes fierce. "The Venom has chosen us. We can't let it down. We owe it to the forest, to the tribes, and to ourselves." Jonas, usually the pragmatic scientist, spoke with uncharacteristic passion. "We're not just fighting for the Venom. We're fighting for the future of our planet. This isn't just about one creature, it's about preserving the balance of nature." Elena looked at her team, feeling a deep sense of pride and unity. "We are the guardians now. We protect the Venom, and in doing so, we protect the world. Let's show them what we're made of." Their resolve was soon put to the test. Richard Kane, furious at the failure of his previous attempts, had mobilized his corporation's full might. Ecodyn returned to the Amazon with a small army equipped with cutting-edge technology and weapons designed to subdue even the mightiest of creatures. This time, they were led by Dr. Evelyn Drake, a brilliant but ruthless scientist obsessed with the Venom's potential. The final confrontation began at dawn. Ecodyn's forces moved through the jungle with a calculated precision, their drones scanning every inch of the forest. But the combined efforts of Elena's team, the indigenous tribes, and the Venum turned the jungle into a formidable fortress. As the first wave of Ecodyn's forces entered the sanctuary, they were met with a series of traps and ambushes. Tribal warriors, armed with traditional weapons and intimate knowledge of the terrain, struck swiftly and vanished into the underbrush. Marcus and Anna led guerrilla-style attacks, using the jungle to their advantage. Elena and Jonas focused on disrupting Ecodyn's technology. They had developed devices that could interfere with the drone's signals and create electromagnetic pulses to disable their equipment. Despite their efforts, Ecodyn's numbers and firepower were overwhelming. The battle raged for hours, the jungle echoing with the sounds of conflict. Dr. Drake, driven by her obsession, managed to locate the Venom. She approached the serpent with a device designed to harness its energy, her eyes gleaming with ambition. Elena, realizing the imminent threat, rushed to confront Drake. "Stop! You don't understand what you're doing. The Venom isn't just a source of power, it's a guardian of the natural world." Drake sneered, her face twisted with determination. "You're a fool, Ramirez. This creature is the key to a new era. With its power, we can achieve unimaginable progress." As Drake activated her device, a blinding light enveloped the clearing. The Venom, sensing the threat, unleashed its full fury. Lightning crackled from its scales, and the ground shook violently. The device in Drake's hands exploded, sending her sprawling. In the ensuing chaos, Elena and her team fought desperately to protect the Venom. The serpent, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence, struck at the invaders with a precision born of millennia of instinct. Ecodyn's forces, despite their advanced technology, were no match for the combined might of the Venom and its guardians. Dr. Evelyn Drake, realizing her defeat, made a last-ditch effort to capture the Venom. But as she lunged forward, she was intercepted by Chief Tupac, who had been watching from the shadows. With a swift and decisive strike, he disarmed her and ended the threat she posed. As the sun set, the battlefield grew quiet. Ecodyn's forces, battered and defeated, retreated from the jungle. The Venom, its power still crackling in the air, coiled protectively around the ancient tree. Elena and her team, though exhausted, stood victorious. The indigenous tribes emerged from the jungle, their expressions a mix of relief and respect. Chief Tupac approached Elena, his eyes reflecting a deep gratitude. "You have honored the Venom and the jungle. We will continue to stand with you, as guardians of this sacred place." Elena nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "We couldn't have done it without you. The Venom is safe, for now. But we must remain vigilant. There will always be those who seek to exploit its power." In the weeks that followed, Elena and her team worked tirelessly to rebuild and strengthen their defenses. They established a network of communication with the indigenous tribes, ensuring that any future threats could be met with a united front. The Venom, now fully aware of its guardian's dedication, continued to roam the jungle, its presence a beacon of hope and resilience. Elena, standing at the edge of the clearing one evening, watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues. She felt a profound connection to the forest and the ancient serpent they had sworn to protect. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had forged an unbreakable bond between them. "We are the guardians," she whispered to herself, feeling the weight and honor of their role. "And as long as we stand together, the Venom and the forest will thrive." The legend of the Venom had become a reality, a living testament to the power of nature and the strength of those who chose to protect it. And in the heart of the Amazon, a new era of guardianship began, united by a common purpose and an unwavering resolve to preserve the balance of the natural world.